Axis Mundi, the world tree, connects the many layers, worlds, and facets of our universe. The lower world of watery roots provides access points to deep self-knowledge and the realms of those who have come before us. The midworld of earth and form holds humanity and all physical things, a bridge where connections emerge. And the upper world, billowing in its airy canopy, expands with spirit and the magic of source. Traveling these roads of the Axis Mundi is you, a fiery spark of conscious life. Through this podcast, we meet beyond time and space to explore the information found along the vast arterial pathways of the universal Axis Mundi. In each episode, follow your unique compass through this journey of self-knowledge, taking what resonates and leaving the rest. My name is Meg Bartlett, and this is the Axis Channel. Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Axis Channel. My name is Meg Bartlett, and today we're going to talk about healing people in the dream space and the power of your soul. And this is something where I just had this dream this morning, and it was so viscerally real and so important for me to share it. And I just got so much out of this. I have to share this with you. And I was not planning on doing this episode, but I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about today that I just have to say it. So I'm going to detail this dream to you, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit and the power behind it. And this kind of also goes along with the trainings that I've been undergoing, the sleep paralysis that I've been having, the non-fear-based sleep paralysis. This is not a fear-based sleep paralysis, and some of those other processes. So let's just dive right in. In this dream, I had woken up this morning in my physical waking life around 8 o'clock. Maybe it was like 7:50 or something like that. And I had wanted to have an experience in the dream space last night. And I didn't have that. I had a different dream, but it really wasn't anything out of body or lucid or any other experience like that. So I said, you know what? I don't have any plans today. I'm just going to go back to bed. And I put like a dark cloth over my face just to, I don't have blackout curtains. So for me, this is helping me step back into the dream space. And I fell back asleep. Now, this is a lucid dreaming technique that people do that has really worked for me. So there's a lot of different lucid dreaming techniques out there to help you bring conscious awareness into the dream space. This is one that just works for me, which is the wake back to bed method. And this is where you wake up and you spend a significant amount of time being awake. Maybe that's 5 minutes for some people. For others, it could be up to 20. And you kind of, like you expose yourself to light, you maybe look at something or engage the brain in some way, and then you lay back down to go to sleep. And the theory is that you're bringing a element of consciousness with you back into the dream space, which just opens the probability for you to have a lucid or out of body or astral experience, whatever your jam is. So I had gone back to bed, and it was pretty early in the morning, but whatever, it's fine. I don't have anything going on today. And I ended up having a very lucid experience where I consciously stepped outside of my body. So I had an out of body experience. Now, in this dream, I woke up in a hotel room. So I was not in my bedroom in my waking life, but I was definitely me. And I was absolutely consciously aware that I had become lucid in the dream space. So when I say I woke up, I didn't actually wake up in a hotel room. It's something called a false awakening, which means that you just become consciously aware in the dream space. So I became consciously aware in the dream space, and I stepped into like this scene where I knew that I was at a conference in this dream, and I knew that I was me, I was Meg, but this was maybe a parallel lifetime, or maybe this was just a different lifetime entirely. But I knew that I was the same soul as the soul that embodies this present body called Meg, right? And so I knew that I was me, and I had all of this conscious awareness around it. And I knew that I was in a hotel room at a conference, and I was maybe speaking here or attending. It was a big thing. My father-in-law was there, though I don't recall if he actually looked like my father-in-law or if he was someone else, but he was part of the medical team. So he had one of those red bags with like the white cross on it, and he was a medical person at this event. In the dream, I became consciously aware and I said, ooh, all right, I want to have an out of body experience. And I think that there's something for me to do here because normally when I go back to bed and I want to have an out of body experience, I wake up in my actual bedroom, right? But I was in this other existence. So I was like, all right, I'm connecting to another part of myself through conscious time. And I believe that there's a purpose for this. So I was like, all right, let me see what this is about. And I started inching out of my body. So my soul is separating itself from my body. Now, this happens in the sleep paralysis state. So go back and listen to the episode on sleep paralysis if this is a totally new concept to you. The whole sleep paralysis state is meant for the body to be able to sit within itself and do all of the processes that it needs to do. But we don't consciously, as a soul, need to be a part of that process. Our bodies can handle it on their own. So the sleep paralysis state, when we become consciously aware within it, right, which is the sleep paralysis where people feel like they're locked inside their body, that's just the soul becoming aware while the body is actually physically paralyzed because it's doing all of these recuperative processes. And we bring whatever we are feeling to the table. So if you have fear around being consciously aware as a soul, then you will encounter fear in your dream space because you are welcoming that into the vicinity because that is what you are thinking and feeling. If you don't believe that anything can harm you, and if you're excited about the prospect of stepping outside of your body and exploring, then that is what you will experience because you create your reality. So I have gone through this whole process of conquering my fear and those like sleep paralysis demons and things like that, which are really just my fears personified. And I have entered the space where I am now super excited to be able to step outside of my body with these opportunities. And so I started wiggling my soul out of my body and I'm laying next to myself. And I'm doing that thing again where I'm like, okay, this is what it's like to be in two bodies at once. And I was like, just spend some time adjusting to this feeling. I don't have to go off and do anything right now. I have all of the time in the world. So I'm sitting next to myself and then I feel like, okay, I think I have the hang of it, the feeling of this particular dream. Some of them, they feel different sometimes. And so it does take me a while to consciously adjust still because I'm still sort of at the beginning of this process. I haven't been doing this too long. I've only been practicing it for just over a year. There are people out there who have been doing this for like years and years and years and, decades even. And they don't have to necessarily spend that much time becoming comfortable with it anymore, but I do. And so I sat with myself and I decided to get up. And so I was like, okay, so I start walking out of my hotel room. And this is where in the past, I did have an experience actually where I was traveling with my husband in waking life. And I did have an out of body experience in that hotel room. And I was scared in that one because I didn't know if I was going to find my way back into my body. I was afraid of getting lost in the hotel. I was like, that was not a good scenario. So I had a fear-based experience there. In this one, I had a non-fear-based experience because at this point in time, I have come into the knowledge that nothing can keep me from my body. I don't have to worry about becoming lost because I will always find my way back. And it's not that I have a map in my head or that there's like a cord or a tether pulling me to my body. That doesn't exist in my reality. It might in yours. It's okay for us to have differing opinions and beliefs. But for me, I just knew that I can go off and explore and have fun because I will always come back to my body because my body is designed and programmed for my soul. It is unique to me and only I can be in this vessel, right? And so that was just like, I had a little bit of that thought in the dream and I said, okay, yep, I feel good about that. I'm going to go off and explore. And I was so excited. And I walk out the hallway and I see my father-in-law and he's like, must be early in the morning during this time. And he's getting ready to go be a part of the conference and he's got his medical bag with him. And then I get the feeling that I'm needed somewhere, but I don't know where, but the universe can take me there. So I lay down as a soul, my soul, the essence, the energy of it lays down. And I'm using human imagery in this because that's how I'm going to remember and process it best when I wake up. And so even though this might not actually be happening as a soul, because a soul doesn't need to lay down or manipulate or use its limbs or anything like that because it doesn't have them. But for me, it's best for me to think about it this way. And so all of this through the dream space, this imagery and this sense of knowing and these sensations that I have, they're designed to help me process and recall this experience in a way that I can communicate it to other human beings and understand it myself as a human. Right? So that is why this imagery exists. Anyways, I lay down and I'm hovering about 2 to 3 feet above the floor. And then I just say, take me to where I'm needed. And I start shooting off like I'm levitating above the floor. And my soul just like, I can feel myself being pulled to where I'm needed. And I just trust it. And I'm going down a series of hallways in this hotel room until I arrive in the bedroom of a very sick girl. But I'm super happy to be here, right? And I jump up on the bed like I would if I were a kid, but I know that I'm adult Meg, right? That I know that I have this conscious awareness that I am who I am as a soul. But I jump up onto her bed and I'm like, hi, how are you? And she's looking at me, her eyes are open, but I know that it's not her body. Her body is asleep, but her soul is awake and her soul is just sitting within the body. And she's equally excited and happy to see me. She's like, oh, another soul, like she's like, oh, hello, how are you? I'm doing so great. And this whole dream is so bubbly and warm and beautiful. And we're just chatting and I'm just like, oh, how are you? I was like, well, I felt, called to come over here. How are you feeling? Are you doing okay? As a soul, can I check in with your soul? And she said, I've actually been feeling really off. I went on a trip to the Caribbean recently, and ever since that trip happened, my body's been a little sick. I've been feeling run down. I don't know what happened, and I just don't feel like I'm completely here. She was like, I feel like part of me is still in the Caribbean, and it just feels off. And I was like, okay, well, let's keep talking about that. Did anything happen when you were there? And she goes, oh, I touched a mirror when I was in the Caribbean and it didn't feel good. And I go, oh, that's it. And immediately I launch into this explanation of mirrors. I have some of this knowledge myself, but some of this was very new to me, but I'm just spewing it off in the dream. Like I just know this because I'm my soul and I'm consciously aware that I'm just embodying my soul and my soul has this knowledge. And so I start telling her, mirrors are reflectors and they're also portals. So whenever we come across a mirror, we can use it to jump into another realm of existence or visit another plane of existence or step into a different layer, right? We can use it to travel between layers, but also anyone that, like if you were, let's say on a cruise, because I got that was the feeling that she was doing. If you're on a cruise, someone else has stayed in that room before you have, and someone else has looked into that mirror, and anyone can look into any mirror that they come across. And a mirror is a reflector. So it has almost an echo of your frequency and the frequencies of anyone who has ever looked in it in the mirror. And the mirror reflects back any of the frequencies of any of the people that have stayed there. And over time, it can kind of lessen, the further away in time that a soul gets from that contact with the mirror. So like, if someone had been in that room that she was in a year ago, their echo of frequency wouldn't be very strong. But if the person who had been in that room right before she used that cabin had a really icky negative frequency or something that just really didn't feel right, she would get an echo of that frequency looking in the mirror because that person was relatively recently there. And I said, sometimes we can pick up on these negative frequencies and they can reverberate and we can keep a piece of that stuck with us. Or sometimes if you touch the mirror, because she specifically said that she had touched it, a part of our soul can get just a little bit trapped in there. And it's not anything to really worry about unless you find yourself feeling, sick after a vacation or something like that. And I don't know, this just made sense in the dream. This might not resonate with you and that's okay. But in the dream, this was the information that she needed to hear. And so I'm telling her that, perhaps when she touched it, a piece of her, maybe there was just like a little thread or a filament that had gotten stuck that was still keeping her there in that space. And that resonated with her. And I said, I think I can heal you and I can help you return to wholeness. Would you like that? I asked for permission. And she said, yes, I would. And so we had this exchange of permission. And I just intuitively knew what to do. Now, I do not identify as like a typical healer in this existence. I do not do Reiki or any of those, I don't know, just like any of those healing kind of modalities. They're very valid, but it's not something that I practice. So it's not a knowledge that I have, but I knew that it didn't matter. Like there wasn't any one way to heal someone as long as my intention and will were aligned with a healing frequency. That's all I needed was my intention and my will. And my words were very powerful as well. So I held out my hands over her body. Even though I didn't need to hold out my hands, it made it more viscerally real for me. It was for me. So I hold my hands out over her body and I just put all of my will and intention to recall any piece of her soul that's out there in the ether in a different time or different place and recall it back to her so that she becomes whole. And I say something like, in the highest good of the universe, I ask for your soul, for this soul to return to it. Thank you, Creator, for filling me with the healing energy that will help me bring this into existence. And I have to interrupt because as I am recording this, my computer is glitching out and I hope that this is recording, but that's kind of freaking me out. So that was just a really weird side note. Like it's been doing it a couple of times now where the screen is like, I don't know, almost showing me someone else. This is really freaky. Hold on. And so I'm holding my hands over her. I'm putting my intention and will into this experience, asking for her to return to wholeness. And then I make 4 big slashing gestures with my arms. Now, I don't need to do these slashing gestures, but again, they are just for me to viscerally believe that I am cutting any cords that are tying her to that mirror in the Caribbean. And it works. And I hear a snap. And then it's almost like a rubber band, like a piece of her soul just like snaps back into her body, like, pew! And I was like, whoa. And we both look at each other and we're like, whoa. And she's like, well, it worked. She was like, I'm all here now. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize I was not fully seated in my vessel, referring to her human body. And she says, now I'm fully seated and I'm here. And I said, oh, that's so good. Because when we are not fully seated in our vessel, or when a piece of us is out there in the ether, there's a little hole that forms in the energy around us, and illness can get in, and any of these negative thoughts and feelings and things that can just bring us down. So once you return to wholeness, now that you are whole again, you should feel much better, you should recover quickly, and you'll just feel really good at the end of the day. And she was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate this. And I was like, you're so welcome. And it was just, we were so like bright and airy and cheery and bubbly, and I felt like the Creator was there with me, like universe, source, God, whatever it is that is your jam. I've been referring to it as the Creator lately, and this force was with me. But more so, it wasn't just with me; it was me. I am a part of the Creator. We are all parts of the Creator, right? We are all creations, and so we have the essence of the Creator within us. And when we align our willpower and our intention and our belief, we can do literally anything. And so in this space, I was completely embodied as a soul, and I healed another soul with their permission, and then I went on my merry way. This is so important because it doesn't have to be any sort of, like we don't have to say these exact same words, and then this means that, and then we step into this thing. Those systems are helpful for us as healers because they can help us ground and really focus our intention and our will, but they're not necessary. The only necessary thing is that you understand that you are a soul, that you are a part of creation. You are a creation of the Creator. So you are therefore the Creator yourself. And you have that power if you believe it to be so. Now, coming back into this physical waking life, I don't have all of that knowledge because I am in the human experience, and we do have like a layer, a veil, a construct over us. We'll talk about that soon as well. Not in this episode, but in a future one. And we have these limiting systems put on us because that's a part of this experience. So I can't necessarily do anything I want right now in this experience because I have the limit of the human experience over me. And that is for a purpose, right? And I am meant to experience what it's like to be limited, right? My soul needs to have this experience. But when I'm in the dream space and when I'm traveling and having these out of body experiences and I am completely a soul, then I am unbound by the human experience and by the layers and limitations that are over me. And I just want to make that distinction because I think it's so important and it can really help us understand the difference between being in a human experience and having those limitations, which are for a purpose, and what it's like to be outside of the human experience and to step into that in the dream space before you come back into this waking life. I hope this episode has been interesting for you, that you've learned something today, that it's just got you thinking about yourself and your own experience a little bit more. Remember to always take what resonates and leave the rest. But I think this is just a really fascinating experience that I had and a really great idea and a great reminder of how powerful we are on the soul level within each individual. So if you enjoyed this, like, follow, subscribe, check out my weekly newsletter. That's like the big thing that I have going on right now that's very consistent. Stay tuned for my book dropping. How to Heal Your Nightmares is still slated for release before the end of the year, but I'll keep you posted on that. There's a few other things that just have to even out there. And I hope you have a great and wonderful day. All right, bye.